She's more British than French, but that doesn't stop her from creating magic in the air. A strike aircraft of the 1970s, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. This is a Jaguar E. What's up, scholars? It's your professor here, Enlightened Enlisted, and today we're going to be looking at the event aircraft, the Jaguar E. Coming in at the 10.3 BR for air realistic, the Jaguar is right at home for the French tech tree. If you're like me and never spent a day in your life playing the French Air Force because the Spitfires are basically the pixel cocaine for the War Thunder community, then now you have the ability to grind out the French line with some relative ease. Albeit to a point, however, since this is not a premium aircraft, it does have some diminishing rate of returns after rank 5. I, however, look at it as a vessel in order for me to reach my ultimate goal, which is to get the Mirage. The aircraft has access to the magic missiles, which are very much true to their name and a super effective way to get kills in air-to-air combat. The guns, however, well, they're just shit to say the least. To drive this point home, I come from playing the T2 on the Japanese tech tree, and I find the guns on the Jaguar even harder to use than the T2s, so don't be expecting a lot of gun kills. Because of this, I completely understand why people just pay the Golden Eagles to get the modifications for this aircraft instead of trying to grind it out. Honestly, I would recommend it if you can afford it, because not having those magic missiles is just a pain. Remember guys, this is not a premium aircraft, so it will not come fully spaded. Once you have the Jaguar in its final form, it comes into its own, but honestly, I would call this a rat aircraft. Now you might be thinking, what is actually a rat aircraft there, Enlightened? Well, I would consider them things like the T2, the A5, or the A4E. They're not the best just to charge head-on into the fray, but more of a support aircraft. You basically have to target your enemy who are isolated and unaware of you. Remember the words of the great Eric Hartman, "If he is superior, then I will go home for another day that is better." These words hold true for the Jaguar E. You don't want to put yourself in a massive disadvantage, as the acceleration is poor, the guns are some of the worst in the game, and you have no early warning system for incoming missiles. When in a game, you want to target and try to knock out as quickly as possible the potential adversaries that, if you leave them unchecked into the mid and late game, will cause you massive problems. Usually these aircraft are the F4s or the F5Cs. However, in a full up tier, you're going to have to deal with the F14s and the Mirages, which are going to be quite difficult for you. One of the biggest mistakes I am seeing players do is they're using their Magic 1 missiles on the A10s or the SU-25s. I would not recommend this. You can easily kill them off with guns. Just make sure they don't get on your ass. You have a healthy amount of countermeasures, so don't be afraid to use them. Now, I usually use mixed because sometimes I get in those up tiers and I do want to have chaff, but you can get away just using reinforced flares. The Jaguar is pretty maneuverable, so if you do find yourself in the SU-25 A10 spam matches, then you will be just fine because you're going to be able to outturn them, outmaneuver them, and just get onto their asses and get those gun kills. I will say this though, depending on if you are up tiered or not is going to determine your playstyle. If I'm in a normal match, I tend to try to go as high as possible and pounce from above, capitalizing on that high angle of attack that you have that is so great in the Jaguar E. Now, if I'm in a full up tier, I do the complete opposite because those F-14s are going to dominate you. Like all air games, you should be constantly checking your 6 to make sure you aren't going to take a missile in the ass, because remember, you don't have any warning system. Should you be in the unfortunate situation of having someone in your 6, I suggest trying to utilize the roll rate. It has a decent one, and you can do a rolling scissors that will generally cause an overshoot. But remember, doing this maneuver is going to make you very vulnerable because you don't have that acceleration, and I found it very hard for me to win any 2v1 engagements. I tend to try to stay as close as possible to other teammates because you're not going to be able to run to them, and you need to pray that they're actually paying attention. If you are squatted up with some friends, the Jaguar E actually makes a very good bag and drag aircraft for your buddies to get some cheeky kills. I'm not much of a ground pounder, but it is the easiest way to try to get the Jaguar E spaded. It has a pretty impressive CAS loadout, and it makes it pretty good for you guys that are playing ground RB. With only costing 15,000 silver lines for a repair, the Jaguar E is a pretty easy way to make money with as well. But I will admit it is not your best mid-max option. Probably the biggest downside to the Jaguar E is it's literally the same as the others in the tech tree, so this isn't something I would recommend if you're pretty far into the French tech tree, unless you're just a fan of punishing yourself even more in the War Thunder experience. To unlock it in the crafting event, it's really just a time task versus a skill-based achievement, which is always disappointing to me, but hey, it's not like this is going to be an OP aircraft ruling the skies on every match. The missiles are the staple and make this aircraft fun to play with, but I find myself still enjoying the A5C more. If you are a new player to jets, it's a great way to test yourself without really damaging other players' experiences, as most of the time you are going to be going up against those armies of A10s and Su-25s. But in those up tiers, you are definitely a liability. I recommend taking the time to craft this plane and using it if you are so inclined to grind out that French tech tree. I really enjoyed using the Jaguar E. Well, scholars, that's all I have for you today. Have you gotten the Jaguar E or not? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. As always, scholars, hit those books and hit those bottles. Cheers.